yo, this is not the smartest guys in the room. I see my friend Tom. He's finishing up some kind of snack that he's eating here on camera. You're starting off chewing early. Oh, that's a whole big bowl. Usually Tom only chews when I'm talking. So Tom, I'm going to put you right on right now. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I was chewing while the intro was playing, and then I like realized right as I put a bite in my mouth, I was like, "Oh, this is almost over." And so I was like, "I guess I'm going to be chewing like as the show starts." But I mean, hey, look, I'm eating yogurt with a nectarine and some granola. So like, hey, at least I'm putting something good in my body. I got to do some hill repeats on the bike after this. I did my swim this morning before this, so I'm okay with like people knowing that I eat. I'm fueling my body. I'm putting good stuff, and honestly, it's pretty tasty too. Um,
When's your next big race, Tom?
well, so I don't have another Ironman this year, but I am doing a half Ironman at the end of September, which is like just gives you an idea of like how skewed your perception gets like the more you do this kind of stuff that in my head I'm like, but it's only a 70.3, so it's not a big deal. And that is not, I don't say that to diminish anyone that has set a goal of accomplishing a 70.3. It's a big goal. It's a tough challenge. It's a lot of work to get there. Like, do not mean to diminish that by any stretch of the imagination. It is more a commentary on how broken my own perception is, that I actually think that a 70.3 is kind of no big deal, that I've gone so far down the rabbit hole, that I am so extreme that I'm like, it's only a half an Ironman. Like, whatever, no big thing. Just a fun day out, Anyway, yeah, at the end of September, I'm doing Ironman 70.3 New York at Jones Beach.
There are a lot worse things you could be doing with your time. Like whenever you got into this, you could be out drinking. You could be have whatever vice your hobby, your vice is getting yourself in extremely good shape and competing. Probably not a bad thing.
Yeah, although I've seen a buddy of mine who also does triathlon, who I did Lake Placid with this year, and we might do Ironman Canada next year. We're talking about it. I've done that race. I did that race last year, and I might do it again with him next year. It was a fun race. But anyway, so he and I send like memes back and forth all the time. And we were sending ones back and forth recently that were like variations on how much cheaper and easier it was when I was just like a 20 something with maybe a little bit of a drinking problem. So so yeah, so like we like to joke about it yeah, all the time. It's definitely better for you. I mean, I'm 47, going to be 48 at the end of September, and feel good. Had blood work done recently. Everything came back like perfect, right where it was supposed to be, right in the sweet spot. And yeah, so obviously I'm making some good decisions in terms of health. Maybe some crazy decisions in terms of what I sign up for and what I agreed to do and how much time I allocate to it and how much it costs. But yeah, health wise, anyway, I'm doing pretty good.
Hey, well that is good work then, Tom. Tom, this is not the smartest guys in the room. Hello, everybody. We're talking today. I titled it this on our little clubhouse where we host platform. We'll say, creators, best job ever, or better have a plan B. I'll start it like this, Tom, and let you, because you came up with the topic. But I'll start with this: that I see there's creator college now. Like you can go to get a degree in creating from colleges, like in being like a content creator. And then at the same hand, I see so many people in the world that want to be Mr. Beast or want to be the next creator that has 10 billion, might be billion, I don't know, has hundreds of millions of followers and make millions and millions of dollars, Jake Paul, whatever like that. But life, as we know, isn't that easy. With anything, it takes effort, it takes time, it takes skill, it takes transferable skill, it takes passion. And so I wonder, do people see these uh, highs, the Jake Pauls, the Mr. Beast, and not realize the work or the luck or that it doesn't work like that for everybody. And maybe there's you have to put in the time as well. So, Tom, what do you say on the subject, and what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up off of that, Dom, I think you're dead right. I think a lot of people just don't really understand the effort that goes in, the work that goes in, the sort of like relentlessness of being a creator, having to churn out content day in, day out. And then the other side of it is the being fortunate enough, right, that you have access to the resources necessary to be able to dedicate yourself to that full time, because there is a ramp up to earning money, right? As a creator, it's not like you turn it on. It's not like, getting a job and 2 weeks after your start date, you get your first paycheck, right? You could go a year without earning any money as a creator. So, or longer or less. But I mean, you definitely are going to go a period of time without earning any money. It is always a slow ramp, right? You are not going to instantaneously or within the first couple of weeks start earning a living wage. It's just not going to happen. So you have to have resources. There are certain resources that you have to have available to you to even make it possible to begin with, right? So that's part of it. I think the other thing too that people miss when it comes to content creation or becoming a content creator is that it isn't just a question of doing the work. It isn't just a question of having the willingness to dedicate yourself to it. There's a lot of other, fortune and opportunity and things that go into becoming a successful creator. You could not, if you copied exactly the actions of a Mr. Beast, you would not become Mr. Beast. You would not become the same, you would not achieve the same level of success that he's found as a creator on YouTube, even if you copied exactly everything he did. Because it isn't just about what you do. It's about what's going on around you, right? Where the world is and where culture is as you're doing it. So it's incredibly, the people who have found massive success, of which there are only a tiny handful of, compared to the number of people that post on YouTube every day, just for example, or even TikTok or Instagram or any other social media platform. There are only a tiny handful of people who have found massive success doing it. And one of the main reasons that they have found massive success is because they found themselves at a convergence of fortune where they had decided to put in the work and dedicate themselves to creating this content. And at the same time, the world around them was in the right place for them to find success doing that work, right? So I'm not saying that I don't want to minimize the work that people have done to achieve success as creators, but they only found that success because they put that work in at just the right moment in time. And it is not replicable the way it is sort of painted to people as it's replicable, as is anything else, right? This is sort of like my big overarching problem with like the Grant Cardones of the world and the Alex Hormozis of the world, who are like, just follow these steps that I tell you and you'll become a millionaire. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It's not that simple. If it was, we'd all be millionaires, right? But we're not. And it's because it's not that simple, right? You cannot just follow a set of steps and expect to end up with, a golden parachute on the other side of it. It doesn't work like that. And the creator economy is no exception. So what we're seeing is, and I found some statistics on this, but essentially the way it boils down is about 4% of creators, of people who refer to themselves as creators or earn their living as creators, about 4% of them earn over $100,000 as a creator. The majority of people earn less than $35,000 a year as a creator, and there's sort of a growing creator middle class that sort of fall between, like about $18,000 a year and $100,000 a year as creators. But for the vast majority of creators, like 95% of creators, they don't earn a six-figure income from being a creator. And the one thing that we're seeing increasingly more and more as this market becomes incredibly flooded, right, is we're seeing platforms create more narrow restrictions, like narrowing the opportunity for success. So we were, right before we got on, we were talking about YouTube and how they're changing their policies around generating ad revenue on their platforms. You have to meet certain minimum standards in terms of view counts and follower counts and et cetera to actually even be to qualify to earn ad revenue on their platform. They're trying to raise the bar so that they can maintain a certain minimum standard of quality for their ad sales, which I can understand. Because if they're charging people money, people are going to be mad if they turn around and they're like, hey, I paid you for this ad, and like you embedded it in a video that got 7 views. Like, what am I paying for? I don't want to reach 7 people. That doesn't make any sense. So I totally get what they're doing from that perspective. The other thing that we're seeing is these successful creators, the ones that really actually have big audiences and followings, dedicated audiences, real fan bases. What these creators are doing is they're moving some of their fan base off of sort of rented space, right? So YouTube has a subscriber tier where you can subscribe to certain channels and you get access to additional content. So they're also using that subscriber tier on YouTube to move people over and to generate income away from ad revenue, right? Because the ad revenue on YouTube is getting more diffused. The same way it did on cable TV, right? We're kind of seeing a similar thing happen. I remember when I was a kid, cable TV had like maybe 50 channels, I think, like tops when I was a kid. And that was like, if you got everything, you had like 50 channels. Now it's like over 400, right? It's insane how that content has kind of exploded. And because of it, there's less viewership on any of the individual programs and any of the individual channels. And so they're able to sell that ad space, the commercial space, for less money because they're getting less eyes on it, right? And so similar thing is happening on YouTube as that market got super crowded and that ad revenue got more diffused across more and more content. They, were able to charge less for it. It was, the efficacy of it was going down. So now they're trying to course correct a little bit. But we're also seeing for creators saying, hey, look, I don't want to rely on your ad sales to generate my income. Why am I relying on somebody outside of my organization that I have no control over deciding whether or not I'm going to actually earn a living, right? Like, what happens next year if you guys change your minds and all of a sudden you start cutting my ad revenue and I can't afford to create the content anymore? So I'm going to start moving my income streams and diversifying my income streams into other areas, right? And so you'll see more like brand partnerships happening with creators. You see creators generating other sort of paid access to their content and creating additional content around that sort of paid access through like Patreon and the subscriber channels. But overall, like the way I said it in the email that I sent to Dom about this topic was that the creator economy is quietly quitting, right? We're seeing a reduction in the creator economy, and I'm not really surprised by it. It's happened faster than I maybe would have expected it to happen, but I'm not super surprised by it. And I do think if you want to become a creator as a job, that is maybe a viable pathway, but maybe not the way you thought, right? You can't just post a bunch of videos on the internet, get some followers, and hope you can earn a living, because the truth is, even if you have a good amount of followers, you're probably not going to make enough money to earn a living. So yeah, so that's where we're at with the creator economy. That's what I was thinking about talking about.
Tom, I'm all in on this conversation, and I was actually taking notes while you were talking. So I'm a believer in right message, right time, right messenger. So here you are. I'm going to give a few examples As you said, could you duplicate right now the success of a Mr. Beast or using the same exact tools they did? Well, Mr. Beast was one of the first people to realize time on platform matters. So here, when YouTube blow it up, when they're trying to get people to stay on platform, he did things like count to 1 million and sit there on camera counting to 1 million. So now count to 1 million and see how many people are going to watch when there's 50, probably millions of more videos. Counting to 1 million is not going to work today. Okay. Jake Paul, he was already a Disney star when he moved into content creation. He already had a following. He didn't start from scratch. He had a following. His brother was famous. The two of them together, they already had momentum. Now the next one I'm going to go with is Charlie.
Can I stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
Was Jake Paul already an idiot, or did that only happen after he started getting punched in the head?
I think he was on a show called Aardvarks, and so that whole premise of a show called Aardvarks, I'm guessing that he wasn't a stellar actor in that sense. Okay, Charlie D'Amelio, she was one of the first TikTok influencers, TikTok dancers. So young girl that is a dancer by trade on a platform that wants dancing. Right place, right time, right messenger. So what are you going to do? Tom, one more I wanted to go to today on that same thing, just what you're saying, moving people off platform. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Moving people off platform. The guy that wrote Obsession.
So as you know, I worked in TV for years, and I worked in unscripted TV. And so a lot of the work that I did involved putting people who had never been on TV before on TV. And often the subjects that we would put on TV had businesses. And so part of the reason that they would get involved in the show to begin with is because they had this idea that doing so would add to their income or their revenue from their business, right? They thought it would be a big boon to their business, or they thought they would get paid a lot to be on TV. And the thing that I used to always counsel people to do is say, look, what this is going to do for you is going to give you a lot of exposure, right? You are going to get a lot of attention. You're going to get some earned media attention. You're going to have local news and people coming out and they want to talk to you and they want to interview you about your experience on the show, and we'll coach you through that. But it's not going to earn you a lot of money, right? There is not a lot of money. Nobody is going to cut you a big check for being on this show. But you can leverage the attention you get to earn money, right? So think of this as a great marketing opportunity. We're going to take up some of your time. We are going to compensate you for that time. So it's not like there's no money in it, but it's not going to make you rich. It's not like movie star money, right? Nobody's cutting you an 8-figure check, but you can earn a ton of money on the back end if you leverage the attention well, right? And I think that's kind of what we're seeing happen with creators who are really good at this, is they're leveraging that attention well to earn money in the long term. They're not necessarily relying on the payment from the platform, right, which is akin to the payment from the television network. They're not relying on the payment from the platform to earn the money. They're going out and leveraging the attention that they get to drive income and to diversify their income streams from their business. And I think that's the way to find success doing it. Simply making videos, even if it's an incredibly interesting one, like filming yourself counting to 1 million, which, oh my God, like, gouge my eyes out, please, before you make me watch that. Yeah, I mean, that just doesn't work. It wouldn't work. And it goes to my point that I said before, like, you could literally do exactly everything. You could recreate every video that Mr. Beast has ever posted on YouTube. And I promise you, you will not find the success that Mr. Beast has found.
Tom, you ought to take up that plan and try it and film it just to prove how. Then people would just say Tom's not as charismatic as Mr. Beast. But,
I think he'd probably sue me. But or maybe he would be like, hey, this is really interesting. Like, maybe I'll fund it. I don't know. The other side too is like, honestly, not really my cup of tea. I don't get why people watch his content. I don't think it's very good.
come on, I've watched my share of Mr. Beast, and here I'm going to defend Mr. Beast. Yeah. The guy, at least with his platform, has helped a lot of people. Like it's strange how many people with this platform. So as me, I'm a guy that loves motivation and inspiration. Here's a guy like when he goes and buys the whole community groceries or buys cars for people and stuff. I actually think he's sneaking in motivation to a next generation of they're watching these YouTube videos, seeing him. He's at McDonald's. He rents out a fast food joint, and they're like, "Wow, he did all this, but really he gave away all this food." And so I'm down with it, Tom. I would agree that if you're calling it acting or anything like that, it's probably odd. But at the end of the day, I think there might be some good there. So I'm on Team Beast.
I'm fine with him doing good. It's not like I'm against that by any stretch. I just don't think he's very good on camera. And particularly his early stuff is like kind of hard to watch. I find like I've tried to watch some of it because I was curious to see kind of where he started. I went to his channel, went way back in the archives, right, and watched like just kind of like cherry picked, watched some parts of some of his early videos, and like, yeah, I mean, he's not good on camera, and even now today, like I wouldn't have cast him genuinely if I was working in TV and somebody was like, we need a host for a show, and that guy submitted a tape, I would have been like, next. I wouldn't have cast him. I still wouldn't. I don't think he's very good.
Yeah. And hey, that's fair. And just shows that maybe you don't have to be right in that theory, or he is to a market that says, hey, he knows his niche. So, all right, let's cruise on here. Jason, our friend, man, we're talking about creators. Is it the best job ever? Do they need a plan B? Is it nonsensical, or should you go all in and maybe Jason's going to be the next creator making millions and he can hire me and Tom? What do you say, Jason?
I think if your target is to become just famous, it's flawed, and yeah, you'd probably need a plan B, C, D, E, and F, and on. But if you're actually interested in really making a difference in the world and you care about the product, the service, or the information that you're trying to go after, and it brings you an income, then it's worthwhile, because there's been a lot of famous writers who are actors or producers, and one that sticks out is The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And the thing that makes him so unique is like, people pay me because I know what I like, right? That's one of his famous lines. And I just look at it that as like, that's the thing. It's like, if we focus on what our actual interests are, I watch like Dom, your show with bikes and hikes, right? Or wait, I'm forgetting the exact name.
I watch it. Bike, we keep it simple. Bikes and hikes. Yeah, best show on TV. Go on.
So when I have quite a few friends that have YouTube stations. Not all of them are interesting. But what I relate to with you and your partner, and you go out rides, one, you're getting out in nature. Two, you're seeing your community. And three, you find things along the journey. So I watch. My own fault is I don't comment enough, and I will go back and comment the ones I watch. But the thing is like, I would pay to watch someone give me, if you guys were in my local area, like, hey, we found this, and these are things you can do. I'd pay for that. Like if I paid $2, yeah, no big deal. But I think that's where people forget, is just like, getting paid for what you like is one thing, but enjoying what you like and you make, and you see a process for it and a benefit, then that's something more. So that's where I stand on Tom. I think people need to stop being voyeurs and get into their life and film things interesting to them, not trying to get likes or shares, because that just leads to dead ends.
Jason, man, good stuff. And I hate to be cliche, but with there's so much talk about the why today. The why, what the why? Well, why do you do it? Why do you do it? So for me, bikes and hikes. Me and a buddy go cruise around and on and off the trails of Western PA. Tom, I grew up. My dad was in the landscape business, and my dad loves nature, loves it, but he was never able to share his love for the outdoors with me because he talked about it, but he worked all the time, worked nonstop. If me and Dad would have went out and rode bikes, climbed trees, messed around in the rocks, I probably would have had that love for the outdoors early. And I don't blame my dad; he was working all the time. So for me, bikes and hikes, they pick me up in a white van. Van pulls up, and we go bike and hike around the trails of Western PA. When the van comes, I smile and I'm happy, and I get to go explore the trails that I wasn't able to explore back then. And now, Tom, I do have fun that I wasn't able to have, and I'm learning to love the outdoors in a different way that I never did, and I wished I would. And so, really, to Jason's point, it's a reclaiming my youth, legacy, trying to make Dad proud, all those things. Well, here, am I getting rich filming bikes and hikes? Hey guys, I'm not getting rich filming bikes and hikes. It isn't happening. But as far as the why, well, it's inspiration. Me and Buddy hiking. Me and a buddy out exploring the trails. It's exploring nature. So with anything now, I'm going to take point two on this, Tom. When I'm dealing with clients in the publishing business or clients that are producing videos and stuff like that, or YouTubes and streaming, and I'm always like, what's the business? Why are you doing it? So what's the business? Why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? What's the business? So Jason just explained, hey, if you're doing it to do some good in the world, and at the end of the day, I just want to do some good, well, you win every video you put out. Hey, somebody smiled, you shared whatever tip it is, Ironman tips, biking tips, stoic tips, motivational tips. Okay. If there is a business behind it, and you're saying, hey, I did it to get out more of my content, to funnel people here, then every video, every piece of content you produced, it had an end game. Well, I produced it, I put it out, because at the end of the day, I'm going to try to get X amount of business by reaching more people. But you have to know what the reason is. I'm going to pound on something. Why am I producing the content that I'm putting out? And if you know that, then you'll be well on your way. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have a good reason for it, right? And the reason, I think to Jason's point, if the reason you're doing it is to try to get followers or to try to get likes, then you could just go ahead and stop, right? I think if it's, as Jason said, that's flawed reasoning, right? If you're doing it because it brings happiness to you and you want to share that happiness or that joy with other people, I think that's a good reason. If you're doing it because you believe it will bring happiness or joy to other people or entertain other people, those are great reasons, right? But there has to be a good reason behind what you're doing, right? There has to be a substantive reason, where the documentation of it is a means to an end. It is not the end in and of itself, right? The content creation is not the end, right? It is a means to an end. And I think that's the problem that some people run into, is they think, well, the end is creating the content. Like, that's the goal, is create the content. And it's like, no, you're creating the content for something. And if you can't identify what that something is outside of likes, right, or follower counts or whatever, then you've missed the boat. And the likelihood is it's not going to resonate with anyone, because you're not creating it for them, right? Or to bring something to them, whether that's entertainment, to share your personal sort of joy or journey or whatever, whatever the case may be. Unless you're doing it to bring something to other people, it won't resonate. And you'll end up with some very flat content that nobody really pays attention to. So yeah, I mean, I agree for sure.
Hey, before we get to Tom's Thumbs, we're going to go back to Jason. Jason, you were flashing, but also I wanted to ask you, Jason, you put out a lot of content. Why do you do it?
Mhm.
And then go on.
The first part of it is it's documentary for me. Whatever I document, I film, I record live. It's for me primarily, and then it's for my kids. But then I find like a connection to. I feel that everything in this world is interconnected one way or the other, whether you like it or not. But the thing is, we get to be a storyteller. And when I stop trying to get likes or be admired, the real lessons, like I go over stoicism and just regular life. That's it. I'm not trying to be someone's guru. I'm not trying to be the famous writer I admire. I'm trying to be the person I can stand and other people can love, as I benefit and I grow. But when I cover what I found, I've been covering stoicism the last 6 years. And now I'm getting solid people who come in every week to listen to me for a half hour, and they go in and they send me DMs and say, "Hey, thank you for making a difference in my day. I'm having struggle with my wife or my child." And you gave an example of what you're dealing with. When I resonated with people, that small population is growing into a steady population. Then from the people that have done it so well on social media, that's where people get paid. It's not the big numbers you want, it's the consistent smaller numbers that you have now subscription based. And everything in media right now is based on subscription based, from the TV you watch to the movies you want to get to the services you get for laundry or whatever. So I just wanted to add that.
Good stuff, Jason, man. We appreciate you. Okay, it's the turn of the show. This is not the smartest guys in the room, the halfway point, but the point people want the most. This is Tom Thumbs, where our 20-year producer, our talented guy, he weighs in on things here. Tom, this is an easy one for you today. It's that time of year where people start heading to the bars for something special or out on their porches on Friday nights, the weekend. What does Tom think about pumpkin beer with a sugar rim, the spice, and all that on it? A thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Okay. So I have to ask some clarifying questions here. So like we're not talking about like just pumpkin beer. We're talking about pumpkin beer with like a sugar and spice rim.
Don't hold on here. The way he's looking at me like he never had this, I don't believe it one bit. But that is what I'm talking about. I want you went to the restaurant, you got a draft. The draft was pumpkin beer, and they asked you, "Do you want?" They dip the rim in like sugar and pumpkin spice, and then they put caramel down up and down the glass. It's all. And don't look at this guy. He's looking at me like he's never had it. So, Tom, that's
That's
what I want to know about.
blasphemy. Thou shalt not add things like that to beer.
So yeah, all right. Thanks for the clarification, Dom. Yeah, okay. So let's talk about beer for a second, right? So beer has been around for a very, very long time, right? Originally, beer was created to serve two purposes, right? One was as a way to preserve excess grain, right? So like you couldn't keep grain necessarily, but you could convert it into something else you could consume, aka beer, right, through fermentation, and then you could feed that spent grain after it had been fermented to livestock. So that's something that humans have been doing, especially in Europe, for hundreds, if not 1,000 years, in some form or another. So there's that. The other side was that for a very long time, before we really understood germ theory, water could be contaminated. Water could not be safe to drink, but beer, more often than not, because of the alcohol content, was safe to drink. And so people drank a lot of beer simply as a way to make sure they didn't get sick from drinking contaminated water. So beer's been around for a very long time. There are also, depending on who you talk to, some very strict rules about beer, right? So, like in Germany, they have a purity law that says that beer can only have four ingredients, right? That's it, 4 ingredients. So they've got water, malted barley, hops, and yeast, and that's it. That's it. That's all the ingredients that you're allowed to use to make beer, period, end of story. And so all the differences come through in the fermentation processes, the yeast you use, whether it's an ale or a lager, which is whether it's a fast or a slow fermentation, right? Lagering is a slow fermentation process. Ale follows a faster fermentation process. So there's a lot that has gone into, and there's a lot of culture around beer, right? I would argue that while there is room for innovation in beer, while it's okay, and like Belgians have been using fruit in their beers for hundreds of years, right? As a way to add different flavors and create different beers that appeal to different audiences. They've been doing that for hundreds of years. The Lambic style of ales, right, often have like raspberries or cherries or other fruits in them that they grow in that part of Europe. So there's room for innovation and there's room for experimentation around beer. I'm not saying you have to follow the German purity laws, but when you get to a place where your beer looks more like a caramel frappuccino from Starbucks than it does a draft beer, you've gone too far, right? Should your beer have a pumpkin spice and sugar rim? No. Should there be caramel sauce in the beer glass? Absolutely not. Is it okay as an ingredient to use pumpkin as a flavoring in beer? Sure, I'll give you that. But when your beer tastes more like a pumpkin spice latte than a beer, you've gone too far. And if you're putting sugared and spiced rims on the glass and drizzling caramel around, then you've crossed over to the dark side. You've gone too far, and you get a very hard thumbs down from me. And if I've had a couple of beers, I'll be even more judgmental than I'm being right now. So far today, all I've had to drink is coffee and some electrolytes. So yeah, so it's you're getting the less judgmental version of this. If we did this later in the evening and I had a couple of drinks, had a couple of beers, good beers, by the way, then I probably would have been even more harsh. But yeah, that's my take. Making beers into frappuccinos gets a hard thumbs down.
Tom, that was a hard take. I'm thinking if I sent you a 6-pack of beer with the ingredients, would you try the best? The best pumpkin beer is Blockhouse, made in Pittsburgh. It's the best. But you don't need any of that stuff. It's like a pumpkin pie in a bottle. It's amazing. But if I sent you that with ingredients to put around the rim, would you try it?
I mean, I would taste it, but like I feel like it would be a waste of money because I almost guarantee I wouldn't like it. Almost guarantee, especially if there's like caramel sauce involved and stuff. Like I probably wouldn't like it.
The caramel sauce that pushes it a little bit for me. In I don't like. The pumpkin pie beer, that's pretty good as it is. I don't really need the caramel sauce, but and the caramel, I say caramel, but anyway. Hey, before we go on, Jason, out in California, do people drink pumpkin beer, or is that an East Coast thing?
Well, I had a question, and both you can. I want you to think about answering this. Can you tell me the last time you actually tasted pumpkin, like raw pumpkin, and then you apply it to now pumpkins? They have pumpkin spice creamer for your coffee, and I have seen a pumpkin ale. I gave a taste of it, thought it was the nastiest thing I ever had, and I was like, okay, this is not impressing me. You know, the beer has definitely a lot of fall elements, but adding pumpkin to it, I've tasted raw pumpkin and it doesn't taste like anything like what we get in our drinks
Come on, man.
or even.
That's like saying
Well,
carrot.
tell me, what does a pumpkin taste like
Well,
then?
that's like
What does
saying
the actual
carrot
pumpkin
cake
taste
tastes
like?
like carrots. Come on, man. Zucchini bread tastes like zucchini. Come on.
I mean, I don't think I
I
generally.
mean, it might be a little.
I was going to say, generally speaking, like I think most brewers of beer, right, are probably using cooked pumpkin, not raw pumpkin, right? Because in the cooking process, you remove a bunch of the water, you concentrate the sugars, and you create and probably puree it too, so that it's easier for the yeast to get to incorporate into the fermentation. That would be my guess. I don't know that for sure, but my guess would be if you're going to ferment pumpkin as part of the mash, it's going to either be cut up in very small pieces or pureed, and it's going to be cooked. I've had cooked pumpkin. I like cooked pumpkin, right? Like I enjoy it, but I'm not talking about pumpkin pie. I don't want pumpkin pie in my beer. I cooked pumpkin is good, right? But I don't want pumpkin pie in my beer. Like stop trying to shove a slice of pie into a beer bottle. It ain't going to fit, and there's a good reason for it, right? Like don't try to cram it in there. Have a piece of pumpkin pie. I like pumpkin pie, right? But like and have a beer. I like beer. They don't all have to be combined. They don't always have to be combined. And especially when you combine all those like sweet elements with like yeah, no good.
Fair enough, Tom. Thank you. Okay, this is not the smartest guys in the room. We've been talking about, we got PSAs coming soon. We'll get to Eric first here. We were really talking about the creator economy today. Is it something people should jump into? Is it dead? Is it dying? Are creators only working if they're funneling into another business? But if you want to talk about pumpkin beers, Eric, have at it. Then we're going to PSAs. What do you got, my friend?
So I'm glad you sort of looped it back to the real topic at hand, because I have been sitting here just laughing, thinking this guy's trying to bring an intellectual argument to beer and using the word pumpkin and spice in it. It just like the most ridiculous thing. And Tom, I love you, brother, but you tried to make it sound like it was a level 404 beer brewing class. It's beer. Clearly, you didn't grow up in the Midwest. You show up, no matter what it is, if it's beer, you're welcomed. So I love the fact that, Tom, you can philosophicalize, new word of the day, on anything.
Hey, man, we wouldn't have a show if we didn't have opinions. Tom, what do you say? Can you that was a good word too.
Philosophize.
Go on.
Yeah. That's why we do Tom's Thumbs, right? Is because I can philosophize on just about anything. But yeah, I mean, look, I definitely did not grow up in the Midwest, Eric. You're right there. I grew up in New York, just north of New York City. My mom is from the Midwest, if that counts for anything. She grew up in Decatur, Illinois. And I still have family out there. My uncle lives in Decatur. My cousin lives in Moweaqua. But and my sister and brother-in-law live in Des Plaines. To your point about beer, sure, you can bring beer, but like don't think for a second, at least in the culture that I grew up in, if you brought trash beer to someone's house, don't think for a second you weren't getting judged for it. If you showed up with a 30 rack of Coors Light, when we were like in our 30s, if you show up with a 30 rack of Coors Light, people are going to look at you sideways, right? They're going to be like, what is this knucklehead doing, right? Why didn't he show up with like, a 12 pack of something delicious, right? Because we're not here to drink 15 beers. We're here to drink like 3 good beers. So yeah. So, hey, if you're like, in your early 20s and you show up with a 30 rack of anything, you're welcomed with open arms. Right. But I think, things change over time. And here I am, my mid/late 40s. And I don't want a 30 rack of cheap beer. I want a couple of good beers that I'll enjoy. And a pumpkin spice mochaccino beer is not what I want.
That sounds great. Hey, Tom, I want to tell you the other night I had a few beers with one of my cousins. He's a little younger, and I have Miller Lights, Michelob Ultras, whatever. I got beer for days, pumpkin beers, whatever you want. So I'm drinking Michelob Ultra. The cousin I'm with, he's like, I don't want your light junk. Give me a Miller Light. Yeah. I'm like, I went over to his Miller Light. It had 1 more calorie, and I'm like, come on, man. Here he's talking trash on me because I'm in the Michelob Ultras, and he's drinking a Miller. Come on. So, but yeah, Eric, we can put him down around here. Go on, Tom.
I just like that he was like, I don't want your light crap. Give me a Miller Light. Like, did
Yeah.
he hear himself say it?
Oh, I went over to the cans and was like, what are you talking about? So yeah, Eric, that's how we do it over here, man. All right, Tom, it's time for PSAs. We got PSAs. We got memory lanes. We got all kinds of stuff to do still. Go on.
Yeah, we do. Full disclosure, I've been tossing around ideas. I haven't settled on a good PSA yet. I don't know. I feel like I'm not annoyed enough about something in particular. Like this week, last week, I was really annoyed about the about the cycling thing and cars buzzing people and people understanding what assault is. But and that you don't actually have to hit somebody to be charged with assault. But yeah, this week I haven't found something that has ignited a passion, so I'm not sure.
Well, Tom, I want
PSA
you,
is going to be, but I can probably come up with something.
or you are welcome to piggyback on mine today. That was thrown out show topic. So because I was gonna do a different PSA, and I'm like, well, this was a show topic, so I'm gonna go for that one. Okay.
All right, I'm going to throw the clock up again. Duck yourself away from the clock so you're not covering your own mouth. No,
okay, I'll set up a little straighter. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Just watch where you're watch where you are. Here comes the clock.
All right, my PSA for today is it's back to school time right now. In college, high school, it's back to school, new beginnings. If I could give a piece of advice for students going back to school, the advice I wish I had, or basically anybody starting something new, I want you to go for it. So my advice is step out of the comfort zone. The PSA, step out of your comfort zone, try something new. Sign up for the class, sign up for the cooking class, go be in the school play, get in the chess club, try out skiing, try as many new things as you can. You just might like them. And life is all about stepping out of your comfort zone. When you try these new things, get these new experiences, you grow massively. And so today, Tom, that's what I got for my students starting the new year. Try something new.
I like it. And you know what? I'm gonna go. I am gonna piggyback off of that a little bit because I saw a piece of content the other day that kind of, or actually maybe this morning, that sort of is either this morning or last night. I don't remember. That kind of inspired this. So here we go. So I saw this piece of content. It was a woman who was in law school in her first year of law school at 47 years old, and she felt like she was the second oldest person in her class in law school. And she felt like she had kind of missed her shot, right? She had missed her window of opportunity, that she was past it at 47 years old. Obviously, this resonated with me because I am currently 47 years old, about to be 48, right? And so I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Then she goes on in the video to talk about how she has just been interviewed by the Today Show about the law firm that she founded when she was 52. So the moral of the content, the video that she shared and the video that she was making was essentially to say it is never too late. And I 100% agree with that. I think if anything, to some extent, my journey with triathlon and Ironman kind of demonstrates that. I did my first triathlon, which was a sprint triathlon, a week or a month before I turned 40. So I was 39 years old. I was a month away from turning 40. It was the first time I'd ever raced a sprint triathlon. And now I'm 47, and I have done 7 full distance Ironmans, including qualifying for and going to the World Championships once. So it's never too late. It's never too late.
Tom, I like that PSA. Well done, quite motivational. And I'm going to carry it back to our subject of today, the creators, and give you another thought on that as well. But I was listening to a Gary Vee video podcast while I was running for potentially training for something that you've inspired me on, and I'm listening, and he was talking about all these creators out there, young people watching the influencers. And he sees young people watching the influencers and they all want $1 million. They all want 100 million. They all want the Lambos, the Ferraris and all kinds of stuff like that. And he says in his day, there weren't people that got rich like that. Back in the day, he said, you were an athlete, maybe a singer, an entertainer of some kind, or to be young and rich. You're young and super wealthy like that. Athlete, entertainer, or maybe you hit it big on Wall Street. Now you add this other component of lottery winner where you can go viral, right? And succeed to your wildest thing. So people are seeing that. They're seeing that 4%, the 1% that you talked about, the half of a half of a half a percent, and that's what they want. Forgetting that that's not the reality. The reality is if you want anything in life, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes work, it takes skill, and you got to put in the time, put in the resources. And people are giving up because they're looking at these people and thinking, well, I didn't get there. And they're just really victims of wanting it all too soon because it's now being thrown in their face. So that's where I wanted to land on that, Tom. So creators, you got another thought on it, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is too, right? I mean, definitely, there are new avenues for people to become wealthy that didn't exist when we were young or when Gary Vee was young, right? Yeah, he's a little bit older than we are, but not a ton, right? A few years, less than 10 years older than us, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, there are new avenues towards finding like fame and fortune, right? The flip side is that more often than not, the part that's missing, and this goes to that kind of old adage that there's no such thing as an overnight success, right? The part that's missing is people blowing up on social media or earning media attention because they've suddenly become or generated notoriety for one thing or another. What's often missed is the fact that they've been doing this thing for a long time, right? They've been making content for years without it really paying dividends. And then all of a sudden something kicks off. They get noticed. They have this huge library of content. And all of a sudden they're able to sort of translate that into some level of success. But it's because they put years of work in before, right? And that's what often gets missed. I think sort of internet culture has sort of heightened the idea or heightened the perception of overnight successes, but they don't exist today any more than they did 30 or 40 years ago, pre-internet, right? The difference is that there are different avenues, but it's the same thing that more often than not, people are putting in a lot of work over a long period of time and not seeing success for most of that time before suddenly they find success doing something. So yeah, I think that's a good, yeah, I think that's a good place to kind of leave that, right? Is there are very few overnight successes, right? Almost none. The truth is that it takes a lot of hard work over a long period of time to actually find success. Talking about time, why don't we rewind time a little bit and have you take us for a little walk down memory lane?
Tom, I'd be honored to take you down memory lane. And today, what I wanted to talk to you about is my dad had a tough year. He was sick, broke his arm, and now he's back. He's back to work and everything like that. And he's doing good. 84 years old. He's doing good. The other day, he called me up. He was down at the bike shop, and he was looking at new e-bikes. And so I went down the road and met him. It's just about a half mile from my house. And they said, hey, you guys can take the bike up in the alley. And so we take this e-bike up in the alley, and I helped my dad start to ride a bike. Now he's 84, he's wobbling and he's moving back and forth. And like I'm running down the alley behind him, and there's cars coming. So I'm stopping the cars as they're coming. And my dad's riding this e-bike down the road. And it made me think, here's the memory lane. It made me think of this. And Tom, you're going to get into this soon. And many of us have been there. as a parent, there's a time when you for your child to grow because you love them so much, you'll be pushing the bike, you're behind them, helping them, teaching them to ride the bike, and you have to let go. For your child, now in this case, for my dad to grow, I have to let go of the bike. And so my memory lane today is really the moment you love your child so much that you let go to let them become what they are supposed to become in any moment. It's always hard because you want to hold them, you want to keep them safe. But for them to grow and for them to become who they are supposed to be, you have to let go of the back of that bike. And so, memory lane, I let go, and Dad swerved right down that alley. And the next day, he went back and bought it, and now he's the owner of a new e-bike. So there you go, Tom.
Nice. It's I'm gonna guess it's one of the legal e-bikes that is only pedal assist, right? There's no like throttle on it. He doesn't have an e-motorcycle with pedals, right?
No, but the weird thing about it is you can just push the button and it goes. So he had another one, and then I got to ride this bike in the alley, and it was fun. I just pushed the button, and I was up at like six. I know 16 is not fast, but in this thin little alley with potholes, I was loving it. So you can just push the button, but I think the max speed's about 25, Tom.
So you can push the button and just go without having to touch the pedals at all.
Yeah. And
Oh,
now, but you do the pedal they do assist as there's like different options on it, eco and whatever they mean. So he is able. So when he started riding again, he pushed the pedal once, and you don't even have to push the pedal. You can push that little button and you're going.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're cracking down on those in a lot of cities, in particular, because a lot of messengers have them, and food delivery people have them, right? And they're riding around in bike lanes, but basically they're riding an electronic motorcycle. And they're essentially like saying, like, yeah, you can't do that. Like, if it's an electronic motorcycle, you got to get plates for it, and you got to ride it in the road. And if it's a bicycle, then you got to pedal it, right? And if you don't have to pedal, it ain't a bicycle. I don't care if it's got pedals on it, which I think is fair.
Yeah, it's confusing, and now I'm going to give you a counterpoint on that. My neighbor had a stroke a couple years ago, and so my neighbor uses his that sometimes he is not able to get up a hill at the end of the day, like after a long ride, he goes too far and he gets himself in a little trouble, meaning like now he's not comfortable pushing anymore or making that pedal, and he hits a little switch and it takes him up the hill. So he not using it, abusing it, just using it to get up the hill.
Yeah, I mean, even the pedal assist ones though, like, have different levels. And
Mhm.
like, if you turn the level all the way up, you barely have to push on the pedal for it to go.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you bare minimum, you just kind of have to move your feet. And like, as long as you're moving your feet, it'll go. Like, it won't go very fast, but it'll go. So like, I would say, like, in that case, even your neighbor who's tired, like at the end of a ride, who's maybe gone a little bit too far, if they turn the assist all the way up, and just barely move their feet, like, it'll get them up the hill.
Yeah, my dad was cruising the other day. I was watching him, Tom, and I'm like, this dude's not even pedaling, and he's just cruising like he was in a low rider. Just like, I mean, it looked like he was on like one of those Harleys with the things above him, but he's just cruising down the road. So, Tom, on that note, it's time, brother. Can you bring this all together somehow for us?
Can I bring it all together? No, we've been a little all over the map, and I'm not sure how I can neatly tie pumpkin spice beer lattes and the creator economy together. But I will say these two things independently. I think it's fair, as Jason was saying, Jason was saying in the comments, and I think it was a fair thing. If beer's free, then you're not going to hear any complaints. But if I'm paying for it and you put something down in front of me that has a sugar and spice rim and caramel sauce, you're going to hear it, right? And I'm probably going to send it back, and I'm going to tell you to just bring me a real beer. So there's that. And then I will also say, that for the creator economy, and for folks that aspire to becoming creators, I would say this. And very much in the words of Simon Sinek from his well-known TED Talk, know your why. Whatever the reason is, whatever the purpose of your content creation is, whatever you're hoping to accomplish with it, know your why. Because if your why is because I want to be famous, it ain't going to work. But if your why is to share inspiration, to share a journey, to tell a story, to entertain, to make people laugh, to make people cry, whatever the case may be, to make people feel, know your why, right? To make people's lives better or easier. Know your why, and then follow that why relentlessly. Chase that why relentlessly, and I think you will find value in the work that you're doing. Are you going to become a famous, rich creator? Probably not. But will you find value in it? I would almost guarantee it if you follow that why. So that's all I got for everybody this week. As always, thank you all for being here with us. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. You're the reason why we do this show every week. You make Dom and I not the smartest guys in the room. So thank you for that. Thank you for being a part of this. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will see you next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Until then, have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. Bye-bye now.